This is Trillium from Trillium Healing Arts. I'm an emotion code, Reiki, and quantum healing hypnosis practitioner. Today I'm going to be sharing my experience as an empath, the challenges, and how I overcame them. But first, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So, growing up as a highly sensitive person, as an empath, it can be extremely challenging and overwhelming. Everything can seem so intense. We experience things in a way that is much more heightened than the average person experiences things. Lights, sounds, smells, all kinds of sensory information, sensing other people's emotions, and also the way we feel and interpret these situations that we're in can seem very overwhelming. It can come to a point where we may shut down completely and become numb, or we may self medicate in order to dull and numb these sensations. So, growing up, I had been raised by a mother with mental illness and addiction. And I believe being in that type of environment really wreaked havoc, not only on my self worth and self esteem, but also exposed me to very charged emotions that were, I would say, very negatively affecting me. Um, and then going into adult life, I think that once we start to engage in either romantic relationships or just life in general, we can become overstimulated with the hustle and bustle and the grind. So, what I found myself doing is medicating with food, with alcohol. I would eat to a point where I would black out, binging. Um, Same thing with alcohol. It was abusing, different things in order to escape the uncomfortableness or heavy depression that I experienced. Um, and then also just really, um, not being aware. I think that knowledge is so important in being able to know how to manage these emotions. And so the first thing that I was exposed to in massage school at the National Holistic Institute was meditation. One of my teachers had sat us all around and taught us how to be present and how to meditate. I was also guided to, I found a book in the laundry room of all places, but it was such a pivotal book for me. It was so transformative in my shift in perspective. I was really going through a really intense um, heartbreak, and I found it, and it helped me perceive. It's called The Power of Now. It's a classic, and it basically has us recognize our role as an observer, not identifying with our experiences of our emotions, but as the witness. I highly recommend that book if you haven't seen, read it already. I think I read it back in 2008. Very great old book. Um, And then I was exposed to yoga, asanas, so physical practice. And being an earth sign or in my physical body, I think that, it was very great for me to balance and find relaxation. The only time I remember having the memory that the only time I've ever been feeling really good and relaxed was after a super intense hot yoga session. And that's the only time my mind had been clear of mental chatter. And I had actually felt like really good in my body and not in the state of anxiety or worry or negativity. Um, and then also, during 2020, my mind had just been going racing. And I don't know if that's because I had felt the collective Maya, of the planet, or because I had started doing body work again and I was absorbing a lot of the energy from my clients without doing the necessary grounding and clearing. So I had gone to the Transcendental Meditation Institute to be activated and learn. And there, the first time, my thoughts were like cyclones. It was like there was a constant storm of thoughts barraging me going on in my head. And it was a 3 day course. And the second day, they became, instead of like a hurricane, it was more just like a like a like a windstorm. And by the third day, it was more like a breeze. And finally, when I was meditating with my teacher, I decided to sit closer, and I felt their heart energy blast out and kind of like impact me, and I felt taken aback in a wave. So when we are meditating, we're sending out this very coherent heart energy. We're basically, when we're in a state of chaos, our energy is very erratic and all over the place. But when we can harmonize our mind and our heart, then we can come to a very good place energetically. And this is especially important if we want to magnetize our desires and just being in a good state overall. One person I highly recommend checking out is Joe Dispenza. I really love his work. I've been listening to him for years, and he has some great books and audible books. And he really teaches you how to break out of our patterns and develop new ways of feeling and thinking so that we can align to the version of ourselves that we would like. Um, so, yes, besides the meditation and the yoga, food has been extremely beneficial for me dealing with my emotions, because our gut is what actually produces a lot of the chemicals in which we experience positive feelings. So, someone with a wrecked digestive system that's eating a lot of heavily processed foods or a lot of meat heavy foods can really throw that off and cause depression, especially dairy and cheese and sugar. I highly recommend, if you are an omnivore, start there, cutting the dairy and the sugar out of your diet, um, and also potentially the gluten, which is a huge cause of inflammation. Unless there seems to be some sort of heirloom gluten or heirloom wheat that has been sprouted and fermented, then I do not recommend eating the wheat that is on the market today. When I do eat bread, I only like eating one bread, and that's pacha, and it is sprouted fermented buckwheat. So buckwheat is actually a seed, um, and not a grain, and that works very well with my system. Other Somehow I've become extra sensitive to the foods I've been eating, and if I eat something that is not good, my body will, instantly tell me. So I wanted to eat some bagels. It's like around Thanksgiving, and everything is pumpkin, and I wanted to try some pumpkin bagels. But as soon as I ate some, and maybe I ate the whole pack, within a very short period of time, I started feeling arthritis in my hands and in my wrist. And being someone who works with their hands, as a bodywork practitioner, I cannot afford to be experiencing that. So I've been guided to have a very high raw plant based diet, vegan diet. And that is what is optimal for me. And also, as we're having all of these huge energetic shifts, the Schumann resonance and the solar flares are just exploding. And I feel like we are shifting collectively into another dimension, that it is very important to have very clean, healthy foods in our system so that our bodies can handle the shift in light. Otherwise, I think that some people may get really sick and not be able to handle everything that's going on. So yeah, it's really a whole, your body, your food, working with your mind, exercise or movement, whatever kind of practices really calls to you. It's important for me to share this information. So if you've tuned in this far, I invite you to please subscribe, like, share, comment below. I'm really appreciative of all of you. It helps my channel grow. Sending you love and light.